things to say today. First of all, welcome to the Choate Bridge Day, and it's good to see so many people here. We all have a program, and we have a list of speakers. Let me just, first of all, before recognizing the first speaker, ask Julia Clifford, please, and pledge allegiance. Julia?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Erica Christie from the North Shore Youth Choir will lead us in the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed, that the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, and the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets proclaimed, bells bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, oh, star-spangled banner, o'er the land of the free, and the
Well, thank you very much, Tom, and good afternoon. And if it's okay with you, I'm going to harken back to the days when the Choate Bridge was first built and forego the microphone. And so we'll all stand here for a moment and perhaps think about a time when people gathered in the public square and exchanged ideas and celebrated their community and thought about how lucky we are to live in the greatest nation on the face of the earth. And that's a little bit for me what today is about the fact that we commemorate the very important fact that we live and we stand on the shoulders of those that came before us and believed not only in a form of governance that was important to the world, but believed in public infrastructure and innovation and making strides so that together we could do what that individually we could not do. And the Choate Bridge is a lasting symbol of that innovation and that spirit of community that not only are we known for in Ipswich, but in New England more generally, and even more than that in the United States of America. And so I do have greetings from myself and my colleagues in the State Senate in recognition of the Choate Bridge and the recently commemorated 250th anniversary. Now there are a lot of whereases, so I hope that you will bear with me, and if I take a deep breath in the middle of this, you'll know why, and there will be more. I'll signal you when it's over. So, from the Massachusetts State Senate, resolutions commemorating the 250th anniversary of the Choate Bridge in the town of Ipswich and its recognition by the American Society of Civil Engineers. Whereas the Choate Bridge in the town of Ipswich was built in 1764 and is celebrating its 250th anniversary. And whereas the American Society of Civil Engineers plans to designate the Choate Bridge as a National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark, and the Ipswich Historical Commission has declared May 16, 2015 to be Choate Bridge Day, and whereas the Choate Bridge is the nation's oldest documented two-span or two-arch stone bridge. And whereas the town of Ipswich commissioned the town treasurer, Colonel John Choate, to develop an improved bridge to replace a decaying wooden bridge, and he devised an arched stone bridge which he constructed within 6 months. And whereas the Choate Bridge was originally constructed as a single-lane crossing point spanning the Ipswich River, but had to be widened to 2 lanes in 1838, and whereas the Choate Bridge has remained a major thoroughfare for those traveling through the town of Ipswich, and it is estimated that nearly 20,000 vehicles cross the bridge each day. And whereas the Choate Bridge is an iconic symbol of the town of Ipswich and is demonstrative of the innovative nature of the town and its dedication to historical preservation, now therefore be it resolved that the Massachusetts Senate hereby congratulates the town of Ipswich, we're getting close to the end, on the 250th anniversary of the Choate Bridge and the designation of the Choate Bridge as a National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark by the American Society of Civil Engineers. And be it further resolved that a copy of these resolutions be transmitted and forthwith by the Clerk of the Senate to the Ipswich Historical Commission. This was adopted by the Senate on May 11th, 2015 in a unanimous vote. And it was attested to by the Clerk of the Senate, William F. Welch, and I am proud to offer it on May 11th, 2015. Here ends the resolution, and I'm going to breathe and then offer you one more thought. And that thought is, it wasn't that long ago that when we had the flooding that threatened so many pieces of infrastructure around the Northeast, Representative Hill and I joined with local officials to respond to the needs of the infrastructure, and particularly the Choate Bridge. And it didn't seem like it at the time because we were just trying to get traffic flowing. But what was actually happening is that this town and this state were writing a new chapter in history. And that chapter is that something that had stood for so long was in jeopardy. And the state and the town and the Historical Commission and everyone involved said, we will not fail that legacy. And today, because of that, a group of wonderful people stands here in the public square to say we still cherish the work that was done, the history that it represents, and the legacy that we pledge today to advance as long as we have the opportunity to do so. Thank you all very much.
On behalf of the Ipswich Historical Commission, I want to extend our sincerest thanks and gratitude to the American Society of Civil Engineers for recognising our little Choate Bridge that's been here for so long, of which we're so proud. The steel bridges that carry our interstates over rivers and roads and so on, they generally have an expected lifespan of about 75 to 100 years. Think about that. We're 250 years old. We're going to be there in the next 250 years old, when modern contemporary structures will be on their third rebuild. Their original structure will be little flakes of rust floating down the river. So we are very proud, and we think our pride is justified in having the Choate Bridge receive the award from the American Society of Civil Engineers. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to first of all say how great it is to see so many people at this very spot, because this has historically been the place where people gathered in the town. Now, I know we all kind of gather right over there across the street now, but we're doing the same thing. We gather over there to see who's driving down the road and who's walking by. Well, when the first settlers of Ipswich came, they didn't come over this spot right here because there was no bridge. They walked over a foot over the rapids in a little footbridge that was very close to where the pedestrian bridge is. where we're going to walk later on at after the ceremony. Eventually, the Old Bay Road was declared to be built by the state, and they said every town's got to do it on your own. So it took about 10 years for Ipswich to build our bridge, but eventually this bridge was part of the road from Boston to Portsmouth, the first road in America, the Old Bay Road. And it took about another 50 years before we started putting some shops down here on South Main Street. The selectmen finally said, okay, you can have 23 little lots down here, and you can't go any lower with your building than the low water mark. Now you're going to walk by, later on you're going to walk by Dr. Joseph Manning's house, and he wasn't quite content with that, so at night he would go out in his little rowboat and he would pull rocks out of the river, and somehow the low water mark kept getting farther and farther away from the back of his house. We get about 50 more years here, and we needed a bridge. The old bridge was just a cart bridge. And so Colonel Choate designed this bridge, and the town agreed to it, and it cost 500 pounds, or specifically something like 498 pounds. I don't know what that is in today's dollars, but it seems like a real bargain to me. We go about another 50 years, and it's a little too narrow because Ipswich is becoming a very popular place. We're on the Old Bay Road. There's a courthouse up here. It's not there now. Eventually they moved it downtown. But we had a courthouse. We were one of the shire towns: Salem, Boston, Ipswich, and Newbury, and Portsmouth. These are the important towns. And so Ipswich became the place where the stagecoaches came. When they built the bridge, eventually there were 17 stagecoaches coming over this within about 10 years of the construction of the bridge, and they had 17 every year, every day, pulled by 4 horses. They went right up the hill, because this was the Old Bay Road here. There were only a few houses down on Market Street, and they stayed up there at the Agawam Inn. It's still there, and Treadwell's Inn. It's still there. The courthouse is gone, but Ipswich became an important place, and one of the most historic places here in the country. And then we moved forward. Over the years, Choate Bridge withstood every kind of assault could be made on it. Back about 1920 or so, we had trolley tracks running up and down the road here. And they came over the Choate Bridge. They came down from South Main. The old farmer Newt Brown, who lived out on Candlewood Road, was driving in, and I think it was a Bentley. It was a 1920 car. Somehow he got his wheels caught in the tracks, and he went right over the bridge. If you look at our website, you'll see a picture of this car hanging precariously over the bridge. But the town photographer, George Stepcher, said, "Stay there, Newt. We got to get a picture first." So he said, "The hell with that. Give me out of this thing." And then in 1970, another car hit it at the very same place. But I think the town DPW got a crane. One of the workers went down to the river and pulled all those stones back and put them right back where they was. It's withstood everything we could throw at it. It's still there. It's been there for 250 years. It's going to be there probably 250 years from now. And I just wish that I could be there 250 years from now to see the stories it still has to tell. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. On behalf of the First Ipswich Bank, I can't tell you how pleased we are to be part of this special day and able to be the sponsor. I have a brief statement to read. It's going to be far shorter than Bruce's, with very little whereas in it, so hold on. Much like the Choate Bridge, First Ipswich has a rich history. The bank was founded in 1892 as an independent community bank. We are pleased to celebrate the foundation of the Ipswich community and highlight the importance of civil engineering and the way in which it supports economic development. The importance of the Choate Bridge affects the entire North Shore region. Likewise, you can find our branches located throughout the region in Ipswich, Essex, Rowley, Newburyport, and Gloucester. With a strong focus on our local community, First Ipswich is proud to be the sole sponsor of the Choate Bridge Day, and please stop by our booth on the Riverwalk. Have a great day, folks. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to recognize Linda Hager, the American Society of Civil Engineers Region 1 Governor.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. On behalf of the Boston Society of Civil Engineers, which also I'll reference in here as BSCES, and they're a section of the American Society of Civil Engineers. I welcome all of you in joining us with the 250th anniversary celebration of the Choate Bridge. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you to dedicate this bridge as an ASCE National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark. The event that we are having here today is an ongoing effort by ASCE to give suitable recognition to historically significant civil engineering projects around the world. And you will hear more about this project from President-elect Mark Woodson when he comes up to speak a little later. And can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. Just a little history on the Boston Society of Civil Engineers. They are headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. We support over 4,200 members. Many of those are student members, so we engage our members early into the society. We were established in 1848. We're the oldest society in the United States. We're not the oldest section in ASCE, but we are the oldest society within the United States. We're a professional organization which focuses on professional development of our members, advancing engineering knowledge, and we strive to improve the standards of engineering practice. BSCE also supports outreach programs such as this. We have an extensive outreach program, and we go around the state promoting public knowledge about civil engineering. And we start with kindergartners and preschoolers. The Choate Bridge Award would not be possible without a team effort of some BSCE volunteers and some students from Tufts University. In 2008, a couple of students, Emma Frances Cardini and Julia Carroll, I don't know if you're here, if you want to just raise your hands. Okay, they couldn't make it. Worked on submission of a project for a design project that was overseen by Brian Brenner, who is here, of FST, to be submitted for the History and Heritage Committee to ASCE. Annie Audio was instrumental, she's floating around here somewhere, in pulling this together with them. And she has dedicated her service as the local BSCES History and Heritage Chair for several years. And she's also our current liaison to the National History and Heritage Committee for many years. Ted Green, somewhere around here, he is actually on the ASCE History and Heritage Committee. Annie is also an active member of BSCES. She's a past president, and she serves on the Past Presidents Committee. This is chaired by Carlos Pena. I don't know if Carlos is here somewhere. There he is. I don't have my glasses on, I apologize. And he led the Past Presidents Committee to work with the town of Ipswich to bring this event to fruition. And we started in the fall, and here we are today at this award celebration, and we intend on holding events such as this, possibly on an annual basis, as part of a broader infrastructure initiative. Now, as you can attest to our daily lives, we experience challenges constantly in investment and modernization of roadways, our water systems, and other infrastructure. The opportunity to celebrate the 250th anniversary of Colonel Choate's vision and his achievement of this vision to create what I understand now is the first highway in Massachusetts. This just recognizes that with good design concepts, quality, construction, and proper maintenance, infrastructure can be built to last. It is very fitting as well and exciting to see how the interest of this award has transitioned from a small group effort to a momentous Choate Bridge Day celebration. A town celebration that is family friendly with activities that we provided for all ages. I'd like to thank the town of Ipswich, especially the members of the Ipswich Historical Commission, with whom we've worked closely over the past few months to organize and coordinate the festivities that mark this special occasion. I would also like to acknowledge the special efforts of the leadership of BSCE President Ali Turan, He's of Northeastern University. David Westerling of Merrimack College. Reed Brockman from ICAM. He's coordinator of all the outreach. And Andrew Herman. He's the past president of ASCE. And they sat on a committee with local coordination with the Ipswich Historical Commission and Ipswich Recreation and Culture members on this event. That's it.
Thank you very much. Of course, it started as a small town road, but now it's part of the state highway system. 133 obviously is an important artery. So I'd like to now recognize Stephen Roper, the Historic Resources Supervisor for Massachusetts Department of Transportation.
Well, we're still here to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the historic Choate Bridge and also the dedication of the town of Ipswich itself, which has been such a conscientious custodian of this bridge for the past 250 years. The Choate Bridge is truly a special bridge. When it was first listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 1972, common knowledge was that there were only about 50 stone arch bridges in Massachusetts. And the thought was this was believed to be the earliest, but we weren't sure. Now we know Mass DOT has over 265 stone arch bridges in our statewide database, and the Choate Bridge is still the earliest out of all of them, and it's documented. Most of the others we don't know. And beyond that, it is still the oldest standing bridge structure in Massachusetts, and it is the second oldest standing bridge structure in the entire United States. Part of the Choate Bridge's longevity can be ascribed to the quality of its construction, both the original part in 1764 and its addition in 1838, and the other part of the longevity we can ascribe to the dedication of the town of Ipswich, who has maintained it virtually on its own since then. Going back through the Mass DOT records, I could only find that there was one instance where the state had been called in to help repair the Choate Bridge, and that was in 2006, when the Mother's Day floods in 2006 damaged 3 stone arch bridges, and we came out then to do emergency repairs, and even then, it turns out that the resident engineer for Mass DOT on that project is one of your own. Brian, are you out here today? Well, Brian Zielinski is an Ipswich resident, and he was our resident engineer on the project. So even when the state came out to do some repair work, it was guided by Ipswich. Tellingly, the bridge's arches weren't actually damaged in the flood. It was the river trying to scour out a hole underneath the arches that was the problem. So once we managed to divert the flow of the river away from the arches, patch up, fill the holes in the bottom of the riverbed, and then armor the riverbed with stone, we were able to reopen the bridge quickly. And the bridge is still open today, starting its second quarter millennium of service to the town and the Commonwealth. You should be proud. It is a special bridge.
Next, I'd like to recognize Brian Brenner from Stays, Spofford, and Thorndike, as well as Tufts University, where his students completed the application for the acknowledgement today. Mr. Brenner.
Oh, thank you. How's that? Is that working? Yeah. Thank you for inviting me here today. I'm an engineer, a bridge engineer with the firm of Stays, Spofford, and Thorndike, and this year we celebrate our 100-year anniversary. And we thought that was really old. So this is like 250 years. I was like, that's better. I'm also a professor at Tufts University, and a few years ago, 2 of my students had a project, a design project, where they worked on the application for historic status for the Choate Bridge. And this is the result of their work. Unfortunately, both of them couldn't be here today. Emma Francis Cardini and Julia Carroll, they send their regards. And we're very pleased that it came to this point. I love bridges. As my wife will attest, she's joining us here today. We always end up at bridges whenever we travel someplace, and we go on bridge dates and things like that. And Ipswich, you are very fortunate to have this gorgeous bridge. It's worth it to move here just for this bridge. It's like, it's awesome. In order for this award to be awarded, there are some criteria. Is it 50 years old? Does it represent a significant part of civil engineering history? Is it unique? Did it make a significant technological contribution? Did it contribute to the development of the nation? I think that we can check off a lot of the boxes. And I should point out that many applications for historic status are not approved by SCE. So you really have to be special to make it. And the Choate Bridge is definitely special. It's a gorgeous bridge. It's older than 50 years. I think it's part of the Revolutionary War, that people from the Revolutionary War actually went across the Choate Bridge. It is a showcase for masonry, block, and construction. Who's taking a canoe underneath the bridge? Awesome. So you may have noticed that the type of construction is a little bit different when you go underneath. There's two different types of blocks, and that's reflective of the expansion of the bridge and the different technology used. I think what's most notable and impressive about the bridge is that's lasted for so long. Today, the bridge is a key part of the local highway system in the town. It's been serving the role for 250 years, which is pretty amazing. It's a beautiful bridge. It's functional. You can see there's millions of cars going across it right now. It works really well. For someone who loves bridges, this is quite an honor to be here to be part of this presentation. I thank the town of Ipswich and the committee organizers for letting me participate. And it's a bridge party. It's great. So.
Thank you, sir. Next, I'd like to recognize our representative, Mr. Hill.
Good afternoon, everyone. I feel like Jerry Springer with this. However, we have in this very town some very, very, very special residents who have come through, who have lived here, and who have given to this community. One of those individuals was the person that they named this bridge after, Colonel John Choate. Colonel John Choate had a vision, and he had a great vision. A vision that not everyone agreed with, as you have heard already today. But who was Colonel John Choate? He was a noted resident who led a regiment at Louisburg. Colonel Choate was our state representative, so I feel a little bit of connection with him there, to the Great and General Court. Colonel Choate also served as Justice of the Court of Sessions and the Court of Common Pleas. And I bring that up because during the construction of this bridge, he oversaw the entire thing. And during that time, he chose not to sit on the bench until this bridge was completed, which I thought was great. Colonel John Choate, he had a vision. If you remember, and you've been told today, if you can just think about this, a little wooden bridge used to sit here. And it didn't take care of the needs that needed to happen. So Colonel Choate said, we need to build this new bridge with stone, something that people had never ever heard of before. It was new technology. The town officials here in Ipswich, they laughed at him. They said this isn't going to work. And they criticized him. But he stood by his vision. And he oversaw the completion of this bridge. In fact, when they removed the wood scaffolding, people thought stones were going to go right into the river. That didn't happen. People were afraid to walk over the bridge because they thought it would go into the river. So what did Colonel Choate do? Got on his horse as soon as the wood scaffolding was removed, got up on his horse and went right across that bridge. And guess what? It didn't fall into the river. Colonel Choate had a vision. And that vision allowed this area that we now see, you heard the history of up on Town Hill, but over time, over that 250 years, without this bridge, we don't have the economic downtown that we have. Think back to the Mother's Day storm, and Senator Tarr brought it up briefly. When these three bridges were shut down, how that shut down the whole downtown area for those days that we had to close it. This was an economic boon for the town of Ipswich. Colonel Choate had a vision, and boy, aren't we glad he did. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to each and every one of you on the anniversary of the Choate Bridge, and to our Historical Commission, we thank you for keeping the memory of Colonel Choate alive. Congratulations to you.
Next, I'd like to recognize Judy Field from the Board of Selectmen to accept this award.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen as well as the town of Ipswich, I'd first like to thank the Ipswich Historic Commission for making Choate Bridge Day happen. Thank you. And thank you to the American and the Boston Society of Civil Engineers for giving our town this local recognition as well as a national recognition for a bridge we use every day. We as Ipswich residents are aware of the unique excellence of this town, but how awesome is it that we now have national recognition for something that we use. I drove up in my car a few weeks ago and there was an Ipswich student, a sophomore, being interviewed, and I thought, wow, isn't that pretty cool? There's Ipswich on a well-known Boston radio. Then last week we had Chronicle star us, and I thought, wow, that is even cooler. When John Fisk asked me to speak and I realized this national recognition, I just thought, wow, this is just beyond awesomeness. We are now nationally recognized with the lightnings of the Golden Gate Bridge. So great job, everyone, and please enjoy this awesome event and this great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now to make the presentation, I'd like to recognize Mark Woodson, the American Society of Civil Engineers President-elect, who comes all the way from Flagstaff, Arizona.
Well, thank you all. It's humbling. It's wonderful to be here. I mean, getting to hear from all these wonderful people and all the work you've done in this community outdates any. Well, we have some old stuff in Arizona, but you know, this is fascinating to me. But a little bit of what we do at the American Society of Civil Engineers. In 1966, the ASCE authorized designation of our first ASCE National Historic Landmark. Today, the program has recognized over 200 projects worldwide as historic landmarks. These include the Boston Subway, the Holland Tunnel, Hoover Dam, the Golden Gate Bridge, the U.S. Capitol, and internationally others like the Panama Canal, which, by the way, just celebrated 100th anniversary. So this is hardly anything compared. The Eiffel Tower. In Massachusetts alone, we have 13 previously designated landmarks, and I won't go through the entire list because it's the Charles River Basin Project, the Lawrence Experimental Station, and others like that. In this program, the ASCE History and Heritage Committee nominates, and with section endorsement for a project such as this, a designation, a nationally significant civil engineering project. The National ASCE History and Heritage Committee carefully reviews each of these, and when a project is deemed acceptable, we recommend to the Board of Direction that the project be named an ASCE National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark. So those who have been involved in your community and in the state and with the society, we really appreciate the hard work it takes to get something to this designation. So my thanks to all of those who have worked on it. It's an honor for me to be here on behalf of over 146,000 members of ASCE worldwide and to help unveil the plaque that designates the Choate Bridge as an ASCE National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark. And as you've heard from others, we recognize the bridge as the earliest documented masonry arch bridge and the oldest existing bridge in Massachusetts. The Choate Bridge is otherwise impressive in that it continues to work, as we've said, over 20,000 vehicle trips per day. And I just want to say, as a former city council member and a city engineer, it's amazing what you could do back then, and if anything, we want to move backwards in history to where we can get a project like this done for 500 pounds and in 6 months. And if we could continue to do that kind of work, you'd see better things that would last this long too. So thank you all for the opportunity, honor to be here, and congratulations on your historic bridge.
Thank you, Mr. Woodson. Now, the Girl Scouts are going to lead us across the street over to the bridge for the official unveiling.